growth in our businesses here, and small businesses are the way to do it. The other thing is the grocery store. That has been something that's key. All the Dominick's closed in the city of Chicago, and I have been trying to do that. We are one step closer. We're waiting for the lease to be signed, and I am hopeful that that will happen. Between the growing the businesses and working with our schools, you know, I've been able to do wonderful partnerships, public-private partnerships. Theaster Gates, we have restored the old bank building on Stony Island. We've built a community center over at 70th Place between Dorchester and Dante. And we have linked that with the old Fermi Elementary School, which is now the South Shore School of Fine Arts. And the artists in residence teach the kids after-school programs. So I think those are just a few things to name a few. And I know I have 30 seconds left, so I want to talk about Greater Grand Crossing, the work that I've been doing over there for the past 12 years, building the youth center there, building affordable housing there, including the community, growing the community, and we've had a lot of success.
So in the short time that I've lived in South Shore, going to church and going to certain events, certain topics keep coming up. And the biggest topic, of course, has been the replacement of the grocery store at Dominick's. So if you would take a moment to just kind of explain your process that led to the decision that a whole fresh foods would come into the community. What was the process for that? And also explain how did you end up deciding that eminent domain was not the way to go?
Okay, so first, you know, I live 2 blocks from the grocery store, the Dominick's. I've lived in the community on 68th and Chappelle for more than 40 years. So it impacted me just as it impacted everybody else. I have talked to Pete's Fresh Market, I've talked to Ultra Foods, I've talked to all of the grocers, not just in the area, but also in other states. Worked with the Planning Coalition. As a matter of fact, the Planning Coalition held several public meetings where the community said what they wanted to see in a grocer. You know, met with several of the grocers and talked with the owner of the grocery store. One of the issues that we faced is that what the owner wanted for the price of the grocery store was $22 a square foot, when across the board, all of the grocers that were interested in the site said that they were willing to pay between $9 and $13 a square foot. That being said, the owner had a 1-year lease, which meant that Dominick's was still paying them monthly rent until May of 2015. So there was not the will for him to move forward at that time. So in order to move this process along, because we still have the need to eat every day, I suggested eminent domain, and we started that process. The goal all along is to get us a quality grocer here in the ward.
Okay, so but the question of the eminent domain, can you talk a little bit about why you backed away from it? Because one of the things that people are saying and have expressed concerns is the perception that you flip-flop on key issues, whether it's the big box ordinance that ended up fighting Walmart and ended up, in some people's minds, ended up with Target not coming to the Stony Island corridor, whether that flip-flop is an accurate description for this eminent domain situation now.
Okay, so that's incorrect. Target did not come because Target decided not to come because of the land acquisition on Stony Island. Those are corporate decisions. It has nothing to me. Why would I not want a Target? That's one of the things that I want. That's the place where I shop. You know, again, I live here. This is my community. I want the best for my community. So nobody chases businesses away. That is not the case. It's not a matter of flip-flopping. It's a matter of supporting the community and standing up and doing what needs to be done to get the community to the place where they want to be.
Speaking of supporting the community, the other concern that people talk a lot about has to do with the 70th parking lot on 70th Jeffrey. All right, and so again, in full disclosure, I'm a member of Vermont Church.
Okay.
So, but I am not involved in any way in any effort to obtain that parking lot, although I know the church is trying to do that. The concern that's been expressed is that the community has opposed putting a McDonald's there, and there is some concern that after election, that's exactly what would happen because it'd be rezoned. But you talk about whatever, give whatever insurances, that you need to give that won't happen, or do you support a McDonald's?
Well, let me just say this. I have always been a public servant, and I have always looked out for and addressed the needs of my community where it comes to economic development. Every project that comes into the ward, the developers or the proposed developers come before the ward meeting and make a presentation. If the community says they want it, we move forward. If they say they don't, we don't. Before I knew that McDonald's was going to be a big issue, I don't believe that we need to be the fast food capital of the world, but I do know that we are crying for economic development. I think that it was important for me to grab the neighbors first that were going to be mostly impacted, and that's why there was no announcement about a McDonald's. When you speak to the public hangs on your every word, and so you can't play with that. So the first people to talk to were the people that would be next door to that proposed site, including the church, which were included. They said they didn't want it, the neighbors said they didn't want it, and we told the developers, go back to the drawing board, and from my understanding, that is where they are.
So you're supporting the idea that there would be no McDonald's?
I am supporting that idea.
Okay. All right, moving on. And this is city council wide, but how it impacts South Shore and the 5th Ward is what we're concerned about today. And that is, what is the proper procedure for the management of TIFs? TIFs come up quite a bit. And people are concerned that South Shore gets the benefit of TIFs. So what are your feelings about the ward having TIFs and how that should be managed?
Well, actually, I think I'm an example of how TIFs should be used, and the reasons that TIFs were created. Just a little history, it started down in Southern Illinois in 1976, and it was meant to bring economic development to those areas that were not likely to have economic development or were lagging in economic development. We have that here, and to spur economic development, I have used my TIF to bring that Starbucks and the bank up there. We have used it to build the new South Shore High School. So when people talk about mismanagement of the TIF funds and diverting it away from the schools, I have actually used it in the way that it is supposed to be.
Stony Island and the Stony Island corridor, we talk about Starbucks, and absolutely fabulous that there is a Starbucks right there on Stony Island, but why has it been so difficult to build from Starbucks to bringing other developments and retail developments on Stony Island? What's been the problem there?
Well, the one thing, I mean, we do have the bank building. Stony Island presents two different challenges. I mean, and this is in spite of the recession. Stony Island, some of the lot depth are not long enough to accommodate some of the larger businesses. The other thing is that those lots are independently owned. So we would need to have certain businesses identified in order to either acquire those lots or either to get the owners to voluntarily sell them. But the lot depth is an issue for a lot of those lots.
How do you get around that? How do you, I mean, that's fine that there's a problem, but how do you get around it? How do you, what's your vision for getting around that problem?
So what I have been doing is I have been talking to developers. I've been talking actually to Target about creating a different model. One of the things that we see is that we need to have things created just for us, just like they do when they put businesses downtown. So instead of building outward, you build upward. So I've been looking at things in that way and talking to the businesses about that, as well as the developers.
You would agree that there are significantly underused properties in the 5th Ward? That vacant buildings, foreclosed buildings, retail, places that could have retail that's empty and boarded up.
Yes.
How do you, or is there a plan on the drawing board to do something about that, to change the image of South Shore, the image of the 5th Ward, at least this part of the 5th Ward, to show a better usage of that real estate?
Okay, so directly what we've had in place for the past couple of years is with the South Shore Planning Coalition and the South Shore Chamber of Commerce and our SSA designation, we have been getting those vacant areas and having artists display their art, doing competition, so that there is a use in that empty space while we look for other businesses to take over those spaces. That's just one example. The other thing is I have always been asset mapping and identifying the assets that South Shore has. Working with the Chamber, my SSA. Okay.
Thank you very much, that was great. Okay, so in this segment, the audience gets a chance to ask questions of the alderman. And let me just say before we ask the questions that everyone wants to comment, and I understand that professionals have a hard time not commenting and just asking questions, so I know how difficult that is. But if everyone's going to get their question answered, we do have to ask a question and not give a commentary.
If Jackson Park is picked for the Obama Presidential Library site, what plans do you have to replace all the athletic facilities which shall have to be destroyed when the library is built?
Okay, so that decision is up to Michelle LaRock. I actually brought the running track to Jackson Park and rebuilt it twice. Both with grants from the NFL. Again, I live here, my parks are important. I have been a supporter of the parks. I utilize our parks with our programming. I will make sure that we don't lose the gains that we've made in our parks.
One subject that has not been touched is violence that is increasing in our community, Hyde Park, near Hyde Park, South Shore. What are you planning to do to directly address that, especially amongst our youth who are being neglected and ignored? Okay,
so what I have been doing is I have been creating programs, implementing programs in the schools, partnering with the Park District, sometimes not partnering with the Park District, and just doing events on our own, going into the schools, talking to the kids. You know, I created the triathlon a couple of months ago when youth were home before college. Some had been pulled over, and when the parents came to me and told me about that, I put together a roundtable, if you will, with judges and lawyers and the police that are in the neighborhood to have this discussion in terms of what to do, you know, when the lights go on. And I actually learned a few things, but I think that we have to keep our youth engaged, and it just can't be about basketball. I have a boys bridge book club, which stands for Boys Reading Inspires for Development, Growth, and Excellence. I think we've got to keep having programming, keep getting our programs funded so that our kids have good things to do.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. I actually have a question about the supermarket. Originally, if I understand correctly, Pebble Supermarkets was a potential vendor for the space, and Fresh Markets is the exact same company with a new name. And so I'm wondering, they have a questionable history of stealing electricity, not paying employees. What has happened with those new names that has made you say, sure, come on in?
Okay, so I'm glad that you asked that because I had the same issue. Pueblo was a grocer that was in the Dominican Republic. It was purchased by World Fresh Markets. And when you Google World Fresh Markets, you come up with the people that were there, they had stolen electricity. And at first I was like, no, absolutely not. That is not what we need. But I did receive a 3-page letter from their lawyer which outlined what had happened, and between the transfer of the lease from Pueblo to World Fresh Markets, the electric company did not do what they were supposed to do. There were some lapse in between of when service was picked up. And so that's how they got that. That was rectified